I don't want this forever. This is not what how I want my life to be. I still never take it personally when people have used those phrases towards me as an insult.
You didn't see someone calling you a baby mama or single Black mother as an insult, but there was an internalizing.
It was the
and maybe
truth, right?
Was there also a mourning that you were going to be carrying this baby alone?
Yes. It's funny because when I was in the relationship, I had doubts. I had questions about whether we were meant to actually be together. You know, there were things that didn't work for me. I wasn't always very kind to him. Like, it just wasn't great. You know, there were things about it that were great, and he's a great person. I think I'm a great person. We had a lot in common, but looking back on it, I feel like we would have been so much better as friends. You know, I can't say we should have never dated, because if we hadn't dated, we wouldn't have our daughter. But I was grieving this image of family that I built up for myself from childhood, you know, largely due to television and books. You know, it was the Huxtables, it was the Banks. Every children's book I read, it's a married couple, you know, and the few times that you did come across a single parent in entertainment, they were usually a widow, you know, or the father was completely absent, which I also couldn't relate to, you know, so nothing looked like me. But what I did see was, you know, particularly when I think about the Huxtables and the Banks, Black upper middle class families enjoying prosperity together, you know? So I think I was able to name that I was thinking about family. You know, I'm thinking about marriage, I'm thinking about partnership, thinking of multiple children. But I think a big thing that I felt like I was missing was class privilege. You know, it was money, right? I wonder, had my mother been a high-earning single mom, would I have mourned and grieved what was missing from my life?
Let's talk about that for a minute. Yeah, you growing up, so you were born and raised in Chicago, not far from where the Obamas would later call home. And your mom was a single mom herself. Your dad was in the picture, but he didn't live with you, and it was sort of a different type of relationship. You would see him, but was he as much of a co-parent as your daughter's father is?
Absolutely not. Yeah. No. Was my father a co-parent? Yes, particularly in the terms by which we would have understood co-parenting, which wasn't even a phrase when I was born, you know, or a commonly used phrase. So he visited the house a lot. He would take me to brunch or to visit my grandmother on the weekends. You know, there was like one year he picked me up from after school every day, you know, so like he was very present.